Good. Just or close our eyes or turn our gaze inward.
Can you turn up the volume?
Yes. Let me see. Okay. And welcome. Be the welcome space. Effortlessly, we are this welcoming space. There is no effort in being in presence. And yet, here you are perceiving, sensing, effortlessly. Sounds, shapes, colors, thoughts, sensations. They have no story. They do not contain any story. Like various musical notes. They refer to the joy of being, the spaciousness of being, the freedom of being, the creativity, effortless creation. Like effortlessly, the sun shines. It's light. There is no separation in presence, in awareness. Has no borders. No gates. It's an open field of yesness. Without there being any body that is saying yes. It's an effortless yesness, a choiceless yesness. It is as this spaciousness of awareness that everything functions smoothly, without any discrimination. Like the flow of a stream flowing whichever way the embankment directs it. Everything that appears to you equally. It is at the same distance. And arising equally in the same space. Seamlessly, edgelessly. Nothing that appears within the spaciousness of awareness augments it or diminishes it. Whatever you experience, whatever you perceive, arises out of that spaciousness, out of awareness. Like a wave arises out of the ocean and is known by the awareness out of which it arises. Like a wave is known by the ocean out of which the wave arises. And it returns within the same source. Dissolves in the spaciousness of awareness like a wave recedes into the ocean. Without any duality, without any resistance or without any struggle, without any division, without any hurt, without any suffering. The ocean remains as it is, undefined, like awareness, the reality of our experience. And within awareness, there is no holding on, like the ocean does not hold on to a wave or to a current. As you comprehend your oceanhood, you hold on less and less. And in this relaxation of your holding on, you return to your natural state, which in fact you never have left. But the relaxation that results from letting go of holding on and resisting clears the space, unburdens the mind and the body. And then you are the entire dance, the play of the wind with the falling leaf of the tree, the play of the sunshine and the surface of the pond. the play of creative thinking and creative doing. And the peace of being. Becomes available to you throughout your life. As it is understood that this peace is not something that you have discovered or recovered, but it is your innate nature, which in your life is lived as the effortless flow. Without there being any personal self at the helm. One could say the cosmic realm is at the helm of everything, every thought, every activity, every sensation, every event, a universal event. This peace and freedom is contagious. It infects you and infects your environment. Your partners and friends. As you remain true to your understanding, that there is one perceiver and one doer, one being, one reality. And humanity is but one aspect of the totality. One facet of the absolute reality of consciousness. Okay, so if you have any questions, anything that you would like to explore, just make sure to unmute your mic. So any questions? Hello, Holger.
Hello, Magdi. Thank you for so much peace. The oceanhood is quite an amazing word. There was so much stress in me the last, I don't know, day, maybe some hours, like kindergarten inside of myself, being entangled in something which I know is total nonsense. And at the same time, it's just interesting. And, but now I have the feeling I'm back home. Yeah, kindergarten is the word that just comes to my mind. And maybe that's just an arrogance, I don't know.
Mm. It's helpful not to make a big deal of times when there are images on the screen. When the sense of personal self arises, so we sense it in the body mind. In a way, it's not a big deal, as long as we don't touch it. Or let's say touch it, not to touch it too much, barely touch it. And then wash your hands. Because yes, it there is an entangling aspect to it once you start to give it validity and give it power. Then, of course, there is the spin we're all familiar with. But what's so beautiful is that any moment we can come to presence. Any moment, no matter what, we can come to presence, to the I, this transparent awareness, this the nameless, the ageless, the reality of that which is right now, that which perceives, which is absolutely undeniable, and yet has no shape, no form, nothing to that where you can pin it down. That's always available to us, which is really beautiful. Such a like God's presence, God's reality that's doesn't belong to any particular mind, and yet it is available to all minds. Whenever somehow the mind turns its attention in that direction, it's right there, right there. which is also the peace of being, the freedom, which are the aware presence. So we go from being somebody to being to being. And being somebody is limited in relationships and entanglements. But being of its own is, there is no entanglement in being. And it's just the love, the peace, the joy, the understanding, the presence. So in life, being is engaged without limitation, without protecting, and it's not protecting anything, or it's not trying to get somewhere for one's particular personhood. It's engaged and active and alive. It's life itself. It is life itself. It's alive. Like the wind, the sunshine, the air, the blood pumping, the thought rising. It's not channeled through the sense of lack or through what I must accomplish and why am I failing. It's not going through that illusion, that falsehood. And being is not trying to protect anything. It's acting in the moment, out of the wisdom and out of the understanding and out of the love and out of the presence. And that you don't know ahead of time, but in the moment.
It seems I systematically overload my mind. I mean, I exhaust myself in a certain way, and then I get frustrated and drown again in this old idea.
Mm-hmm. Could be that sometimes we don't trust the surrender. We don't trust not holding on to. We don't trust the disassembling. That we sort of return to some sort of structure, something that still can somehow define something, which is sort of defining me, defining something that somehow seems to be important. It be a form of illogical protection.
Yeah, it feels like something wants to survive.
Yes. But you know the saying, I think, in the Bhagavad Gita, that life is immortal and that which is not alive will never come to life. So that which is dead is already dead. And that which is life or alive never dies.
It's just maybe a memory in the body or something. Yeah.
The body is sort of talks to us. It says, you can release me, please. Stop squeezing me. So in the body there is a holding on, you know, the body sort of mirrors this belief of in protecting and safeguarding and maintaining, which relates to the belief that I am mortal and I have to hold on to dear life, you know. So the body speaks that. And it's basically telling you, hey, release me. Don't hold on. Let me be. And when you let the body be, when you let the sensation, you free it. There's infinite space available for it, which is the spaciousness, the universal space of being, which is quite different from sort of going from the feeling or from the sensation in the body to sort of how can I improve it or make it better, justify it or defend it, ignore it. All these processes are sort of being stuck in the feeling and making the feeling a stuckness, sort of maintaining the feeling, sort of inflating the feeling rather than allowing the feeling, which is sensation, bodily sensation, to point you to its vastness, which is the vastness of the body, our borderless body, not the body of the mind, or not the body of bones and flesh and images and weight and density and height and gender. The body, the true body, which is a borderless body, the body of being, the universal body that we all are, that I is this universal body.
It seems like I have like two versions of this vastness. One is just created by thinking, and one is The reality.
When the one that's created by thinking appears to you, and the one that is the real one does not appear to you. It is that which you are.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Any questions?
Magdi, it's Esther.
Hello, Esther.
Somehow my camera got turned around. You're seeing my bird feeder.
Ah.
Yeah. All that snow, we had snow yesterday, it all went away.
Oh, okay, okay.
I don't know how to get the camera, but anyway, I just wanted to share. Yesterday during satsang, I had an incredible realization, and that is that unconsciously, I have allowed body-mind identification to be like a subtle prevailing default.
Mm.
It just really came to me strong that that's what has been going on.
Mm.
And it's such a wonderful realization. It reminded me of a quote, it reminded me of Ramana Maharshi. Somebody asked him to sum up his teachings in one word. And the word he said was attention. And that seems like it really applies. So I just wanted to share that realization.
Yes. Yeah, so the corrected default mode is I presence, the reality of being, the reality of awareness. Which is not limited. It's not.
Your volume has gone down, Magdi.
Thank you, Zoe. Yes. So I was saying the correct default mode is I awareness, I presence. Which is not the product of thought or memory or image or so when you say I awareness, I presence, you turn your attention to the source, not at any point downstream, not downstream. You're at the source, the reality of being without labels, without without a story, without knowing. With that, there's no place to hold on, but no need to hold on. No need to hold on. In fact, there isn't a holder. There isn't a holder that would require anything to hold on. It's all that is downstream. So in your experience, whatever you're experiencing refers to I awareness, refers to your reality, which is not a personal reality, it's reality, one reality, the reality, which is unfathomable by the mind. The mind cannot sort of, it's left hanging. It has a choice of relaxing or creating a lot of noise and trying to distract you away from presence, distract you away from being. And then tells you, come to me, come. Let's talk about your feeling. Let's talk about yesterday's experience. Let's talk about let's talk about what's going to happen tomorrow. Let's talk about how we're doing. Or it can be quiet. Because the mind, meaning whatever appears to you, it's just insignificant. The feelings, the sensations that are appearing to you, they're insignificant. They are images on the screen. But yes, it's beautiful, Esther, that you saw that default mode, that false default mode of going to.
Magda, one thing that comes with that realization is it's a heightened sense of no past and future. It just seems that reality seems more real.
Yes. Yes.
The absence of past and future.
Yes. The absence of the past and future can be understood in an experiential way as that in fact there is no past and future, and yet there is presence, awareness, which is not in time, which is not the eternity of awareness, the eternal doesn't refer to zero time, it refers to no time, beyond the impression of time. Yes, freedom from the past and the future is very beautiful because it's in the past and the future that the personal self exists, that the impression of the personal self exists. And in ignorance, we don't trust being. Instead, we trust thinking. We trust the past and the future. We trust thought and feelings. We don't trust being or presence or awareness. And so we go from thought to thought, from feeling to feeling, from which is fruitless. And it doesn't take us out of the loop. But we have never, as presence, as awareness, as the reality of consciousness, been in any loop. We've never been inside any loop. So then the question comes, do we trust the mind, or do we trust the thoughts and the feelings, or do we trust our higher understanding, which is in a way non-verbal, non-conceptual, non-verbal? Do we trust reality, whatever that is? Or do we trust conditioned repetitive thought, conditioned repetitive feelings and emotions? And that choice, we make it moment by moment. So when we make the choice to go along the thoughts and the feelings, we are making the wrong choice, the wrong default. And when we don't go in that direction, effortlessly, we are where we need to be. Any questions? Hello, Holger.
Magdi, what about this idea of a Sabbath? Like in the Bible, it speaks about to have like one day dedicated to the formlessness, maybe to not work, to study or to pray or something like this.
Every day is a Sabbath.
Okay, yes. Yes. And Magdi, earlier you said mind is everything that appears to you.
Yes.
Good.
In the narrower definition of mind, we usually refer to mind as being the thoughts, the thinking aspect of our experience, meaning thoughts that appear to us. But mind is not just thoughts that appear to you, it's also perceptions and sensations. Perceptions meaning the worldly perceptions, and the bodily sensations. So mind in the broader sense refers to that which appears to you.
Even the computer screen.
I'm sorry?
Even the computer screen in front of me.
Yes, the computer screen
okay.
is a perception, is it not? Is it not?
Yeah.
And it's a perception. And perceiving the tree in the yard, perceiving a bodily sensation, hearing, perceiving a sound, perceiving a thought, the thought about your family, or about, Paris or whatever, Perceptions, sensations, and mentations is what we refer to as mind. But there isn't a particular thing, there isn't like a mind, like you never meet a mind, and you never have a cup of tea with a mind. Frank, so you write, hi Magdi, can you talk about fear? The fear for many of us is what keeps returning us, keep drawing us back to ignorance. Fear, in a way, fear is just it's made out of a sensation, a bodily sensation, plus a me story, whatever, like, oh my God, what's going to happen to me tomorrow? So that's a me story. It's a thought. It's the I thought, the me thought, which goes hand in hand with a certain sensation in the body. It could be in the belly, or in the chest, or the neck, or whatever, or throughout the entire body. So fear always refers to somebody, to a me, and something that this me needs to protect, or to defend against, or to be concerned about. Although there isn't, in fact, a me within awareness, it's just awareness. There is no separation. There isn't a me and a you. It's just a narrative, a storyline. Although there isn't, in fact, a me and somebody coming at me. And although, in fact, there is nothing that's happening to a me because there isn't a me, still the fact that there is this belief on board, it feels within the body, these sensations within the body are not experienced as being neutral sensations. Rather, they're perceived as being very personal, and sort of these sensations become feelings and draw us to do something to liberate that feeling, or to dismiss that feeling, or to overcome the feeling, or to extinguish it. So it's all an internal job. It's me and myself. It's nobody who's injecting us with a syringe full of fear. It's self-induced. But the thing to understand about Feel Frank is that as long as I am Frank, that I am this body-mind, that identification leads to thoughts and actions to protect, to safeguard this entity. Because this entity, whenever I identify myself with anything, I've identified myself with some form. And all forms are impermanent. Whether the form is a thought, or the form is an oak tree, or whether the form is a body, or whether the form is a bundle of feelings, they are all impermanent. So when we identify ourselves with the impermanent, there is an angst. And so we are driven to fix it, to get beyond the angst. And the best way to get beyond this angst is non-duality, is to understand that my experience is that of awareness, that my reality, that which truly is, that which I truly am and which truly is awareness. And the reality is nothing else but awareness in form, taking on a form. That understanding goes hand in hand with the understanding that awareness is not personal. Awareness is not the result of a brain activity. It's not the result of you being a smart guy, and therefore you're aware because of your great brain capacity. No, that's not the case. Awareness is causeless, effortless. It's across it doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to anybody. It just is. So the understanding that awareness is the reality of my experience, and it's not personal, is the way to free yourself from fear. You have to see the falsehood of the self-identification that is the cause of the fear. Which is different from building higher walls or thicker walls, or the ramparts, defending the fort. It's a very different process.
Thanks, Maggie. I guess sort of a follow-up thing to that. You were talking about sensations, and I was wondering the other day when I was in some kind of a meditative mode, that, you know, when I touch myself, so I'm feeling the sensation because I'm touching myself. There's a hand touching my shoulder. But when I'm in meditation or just laying back and there's nothing touching anything other than what I'm laying on, and I'm still feeling those sensations, I just started wondering what's feeling those sensations. There's not a hand touching those sensations. What's feeling those sensations and how is it registering?
Yes, I perceive. Like when I turn my attention now to, for example, the breath in my belly, in my chest, the movement of the breath. Whatever it is, whichever form that sensation takes, it is I that perceives it. It's always I that perceives. And the I that perceives the sensation of my back against the couch is the same I that hears these words. And it's the same I that perceives this perception. So that which perceives is I. The same I that asks the question, what is it that is perceiving the sensation, is the I that is perceiving the sensation.
Is the I perceiving fear as well?
It is the I that perceives the fear. Now, one thing that needs to be clarified about perceiving the fear, that when you perceive the fear, you are perceiving a sense of something at stake. There is something at stake. Because if there's nothing at stake, who cares? You know, somebody attacks me with a big rock. There's nothing at stake. Yeah, they can come and they hit me on the head and this body dies. Nothing at stake. So when you are perceiving fear, you're perceiving, but it's not. It's more subliminal. That there is something at stake. Now, of course, when somebody comes to you with a rock, the body is already programmed to either fight, run, or freeze, whatever. So that's within the body, which is the survival DNA aspect of the organism. All of that is operating, but it's not perceived at the same level as you're perceiving hearing these words. So there are subliminal operations, there are subliminal activities operating at the cellular level, signals, firing signals, sending messages to each other that we are unaware of at the level of awareness. We're only aware of them now because we're speaking about them. So yes, when you're experiencing fear, you are experiencing an emotion. And that which is perceiving the fear is that same consciousness, the same awareness, the same I. There's only one reality, one perceiver, which is consciousness.
So the more we abide in that consciousness, the less fear there'll be there. The less fear, the less we identify with the body, more with more in consciousness. I don't know if you use that term, abide in consciousness, but I heard that somewhere. I don't know where, but
yeah, I heard it too.
Okay, is that the way to? Because my brain's not my mind's saying, how do I get how do I get away from how do I get rid of this fear? How do I?
Yes.
How do I? Well, yeah, because I'm like right now feeling a lot of fear. I have to do something.
The best way to about fear is you have to come to an understanding. You have to come to the understanding, and the understanding is that whenever I assume myself to be frank, there is the potential of fear built in right there. Maybe now everything is okay, but the potential of fear, something, something's happening, in the world, something's happening, oh my God, what's gonna happen to me? The reason why when something is happening to the world and the thought comes, what's gonna happen to me, the thought arises, what's gonna happen to me, is because there is a belief that I am in me, that I am frank. Now, fear always relates to the sense of personal self and the absolute mortality of the mortality of I, my mortality. In the end, what I'm afraid of is ending. So I want to maintain myself. I worry about tomorrow. I'm afraid about what's going to happen tomorrow because I want to make sure that tomorrow I'm continuing. So you have to explore that there is a possibility for you to, when fear arises, to somehow perceive this not as a fear, but as a bodily sensation with a thought about me, Frank, if possible. That's one direction that I would encourage you to explore. The other thing to contemplate is that as Frank, meaning as I am Frank, I am the body. Of course, there is a body, and our parents called it Frank, no problem. But the I am Frank, the I awareness, am Frank. Contemplate that as long as I am Frank, which Frank is mortal, the body mind is mortal. Contemplate that the potential for fear is there. So if you're truly interested in beyond fear, you will be interested in that which is experiencing the fear. And your interest in that which is experiencing the fear is going to lead you to me. I'm experiencing the fear. And I experience the fear not because somebody is coming with a knife at me, because that will not be fear. That would be instinctual response. There would be an instinctual response. I'm not experiencing fear because I'm crossing the street, there's a car coming at me. There's going to be an instinctual response. I experience fear as a result of there is a thinking. There is a thinking process at work. And in this thinking process, the me is in there, within the thinking process. There is the me as a thought. And so you realize then that the process of fear is connected to the process of thinking about a me, and the me is also made out of thoughts. and images and so you go from there is fear, like something seemingly very concrete, to a series of thoughts and sensations and images and feelings. And at the core of all of it is the me thought that I am, you know, it's going to happen to me. Will this happen to me or that happen to me? There is somehow a me character in there, in your belief structure and your thinking structure. And that's where you will find that the entire process of fear, which is a bodily response, a physiological response, is connected to the me thought. And the me thought is not to be denied. I'm not denying it. But the me thought, something perceives the thought. Right? So there is awareness that is perceiving these thoughts, which is overlooked. I know it's overlooked, but it's there because we're talking about it. As we're talking about it, we realize, yes, there is, in fact, awareness perceiving the thought. Then the question, which makes sense, is, what am I? Am I the thought, the me thought? That's about, oh my God, what's going to happen to me tomorrow? And gee, I was nice to them. Why are they being nasty to me today? And yesterday I even helped them, you know, when they're having trouble with shoveling the snow. And it's all this. Am I the me thought in the stories, or am I the awareness? See, that's where you come to a bifurcation. And which path do you take? Do you at that moment take the path, oh yeah, I'm the guy that helped them yesterday, and they're not being grateful, and instead they're trying to screw me tomorrow, you know? Do you take that road, or do you take the path of, I'm the awareness that's perceiving these thoughts, that's perceiving this belief, these images, this story? And if you take the path of, I was good to them and they're being ungrateful to me, you are taking the path of the separation, of the identity, of the sense of isolation. And if you overcome the fear now, there will be another fear in another circumstance will arise, where a different fear, if fear will arise again. And this opportunity avails itself to us very, very, very often of either we go with our thoughts and our stories and our feelings, or we recognize that all of that stuff are images appearing to eye awareness, and eye awareness is nothing is happening to eye awareness. So I am, as awareness, where nothing is happening, all is well, engaging in trying to fix something, trying to fix the river. You know how the river is flowing. I'm now on a new mission. I'm going to try to fix the river or save the river. But awareness doesn't do that. Awareness is peace, the peace of being. And awareness is your reality, is the reality of your mind, the reality of your body, the reality of your perceptions. Because there is no possibility for any thoughts or for any perception or any sensations without awareness. What would be, I'm experiencing fear, for example, without awareness? It would mean nothing. What you couldn't say, I'm experiencing fear, if there wasn't awareness of the fear. So the awareness of is not experiencing fear. Awareness is always and eternally at peace. But I understand, if you imagine that somebody fell in the river and is drowning, you are going to jump to save them. I understand that you would do that. But then I tap you on your shoulder and you wake up and you realize, oh, I am lying on the couch, dozing off, having a siesta, and I was dreaming. It felt so real. But that's why you jumped in the water, because it felt so real. But in fact, you didn't jump in any water. You're lying down on the couch. Awareness is like that. It's not jumping in the water. It's lying on the couch. But when awareness awakens to itself, understands, there is an understanding, then awareness is no longer dreaming that there is somebody falling in the water and that it must jump to save them. That dream goes on as long as you are overlooking your reality, the reality of awareness. So the journey, in a way, using that word, the journey, is to realize that your true nature is not what is appearing to you. It's not the body mind, that your true nature, your reality, your only reality. There is no other reality. It's not half a reality. Half a reality is this and half a reality is that. Your reality, your only reality, is consciousness, awareness.
Okay, thanks, Maggie.
Okay, Frank.
Hi, Maggie, John.
Hello, John.
Hi, thank you for sharing that. Every time I hear you talk about fear, and Frank too, or anybody for that matter, it's always enlightens me more, because I see that, as you have suggested, that when I can come, in a sense, from the approach of I am, or consciousness, or whatever, what's real and what's something else, but when I can come from that, it's better than coming from the me aspect. I will say, though, I wrote the thing, false evidence appearing real. I didn't mean to send it while you guys were talking, but it's helpful for me in that sense, because that the real word in there is just, I think, the important one. I think that's the I am. So what's real, the I am or the false evidence? But I think the thing for me right now is that what you have suggested is that I try these investigations or explorations or contemplation, or whatever you want to call it, I guess, but is to see what the truth is. It seems to find these smaller fears that I have, and they're a little bit easier to deal with, because if I come to a larger fear, sometimes, or it appears, okay, even though it's false evidence, but it appears to be more than the mind wants to handle and all that kind of jazz. So I tend to sway to say, okay, I'm leaning on being fearful rather than consciousness. It tends to sway me in that direction. So, however, when I do this with the smaller fears, and I begin to see the truth of it and see the false evidence, then it seems to be easier to do it with larger and larger ones as they come in.
Right.
So
yes.
But I will admit that I have trouble with. I've always had, like Frank has said, I've always had trouble with the fear all my life. So, but it's like you said, the suggestion of practicing in that sense, or at least taking the stance of, what is my true nature, and all the other things that you said earlier. Anyway, I'm just saying that the smaller ones help me. I still stray, and it's intentional. Even I go, I can't. I don't want to stay there and try to do it. It's even intentional.
John, it's yes. What you said, yes, is correct. That we when there is a large fear that arises, it's we're sort of a little bit swept by it. But there are many occasions where there are silly fears, like I don't know, somehow you forget to lock your door, and then you remember, oh my God, I forgot to lock my door. Is a little fear. And so this, even the little fear, you can trip, it can get you tripping. Oh my God, whatever. Or it's possible with this, as you said, the smaller fears to sort of go to consciousness, to awareness that at that moment, is something is at stake. Seemingly something is at stake for me. What's going to happen? What if somebody breaks in or something like that? And that you're referring to yourself as a separate self. So yes, you can practice with the small things, whichever way you could, but they have an effect working on the small fears or the small irritations. Has an effect on the big ones, in that you are actually applying your contemplation, you're doing your inquiry on the source of the fear, the sense of separation, the false identification. So when you apply the understanding to the source of the fear, then the source of the fear becomes weaker. And so the source of the fear is the same source for the small fears or for the big fears.
Right.
When the source of the fear is thinning out and is being seen through, it's seen its falsehood, then not only the little fears become insignificant, but even the big fears become smaller fears.
Yeah. Now, the other, like I said, there are some times, and I know this, the interesting thing as I'm speaking to you right now, I realize that sometimes there's an intentional a thing of saying, well, I'm going to stick with this fear in a sense, or I'm going to stick, I know this is a me, and I don't want to let go of it. It's so, but even there, I know it's like I'm sort of hovering in between. It's like I know that I can go in the other direction, and I see that happening, and I know that that is I am. I know, and And at the other time though, but I say I'm not going to do it. I mean, there's an intentional I'm not going to do it, and I don't it won't work that way for me or something. I mean, it's definitely me, and I know that, and I keep seeing it every time those things come up. I keep seeing that, and then sometimes I can fall over into I am, and I know that, and bam, and other times I keep choosing for some reason.
It's like the debt collector. They send.
That's right.
Like the debt collector.
Tell me about it.
They send Joe knocking on your door, asking for the payment, and you don't do the payment. Then next time it's no longer Joe that's knocking on the door at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll get to knock at midnight, but it won't be Joe. It will be Tony.
Yeah.
So you better respond to the call, when they knock on the
door. Okay. All right, Maggie. Thank you.
Well, very lovely to be with you all. Thank you, Trish and John, Holger. Hello, Adrienne, Zoe, Frank, George, Esther. You got the camera to flip around, Esther. Wonderful. Holly. Hello, Umer. And Emma. Hello, Emma. Lovely to see you all.
Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you. Namaste, all.